Emma Hayes stepped into the Grand Metropolitan Hotel at exactly 6:15 a.m., maintaining the routine she had followed every morning for the last 3 years. The soft glow of dawn stretched shadows throughout the marble lobby as she approached the staff entrance, the sound of her practical shoes echoing on the gleaming floor. Her uniform, a pristine white shirt paired with a sleek black vest, reflected the high standards expected by the hotel, yet keeping it in such flawless condition on her limited income necessitated meticulous financial planning. The morning briefing commenced at 6:30, allowing her just the right amount of time to review the day's VIP arrivals and any special requests. In her role as guest relations manager, she had to anticipate potential issues before they emerged. The role appeared impressive at first glance, yet the actual experience entailed a continuous balancing act of managing guest expectations, navigating staff constraints, and adhering to ever stricter corporate regulations. Another complaint about the check-in process, Sarah, the night manager, sighed as she passed the shift report, the third one this week. The new efficiency protocols implemented by the corporation are resulting in a slowdown rather than an increase in speed. Emma nodded, her eyes flitting over the report as she held back a sigh. The recently introduced protocols, put into place half a year ago, had been nothing short of a nightmare, yet adherence to them was crucial for their job security. 17 floors high, in the owner's luxurious penthouse suite, Alexander Reed gazed out from the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows. The skyline of London unfolded before him, resembling a realm crafted just for him. By the age of 34, he had elevated his father's humble hotel chain into a luxury brand that epitomized perfection. However, the most recent guest satisfaction reports shone with disapproval from his tablet, indicating a consistent drop over the last 2 quarters. His reflection in the window appeared weary. Shadows had settled beneath his blue eyes, and his typically groomed beard was in need of a trim. The board meeting is set for 9 in the morning. Loomed large in his thoughts. They would seek clarity, answers, and above all, outcomes. With a practiced silence, his assistant entered, announcing, "Your coffee, sir. Here are the concluding figures from last night." Alexander grasped the coffee, his gaze fixed intently on the window. How unfortunate. Overall satisfaction declined by an additional 2 points. "We remain above the industry average, yet we are not quite where we ought to be," he concluded, finally shifting his gaze from the view. His suite embodied the essence of opulence. Every detail features pristine lines, understated artistry, and furnishings that surpass the value of many automobiles. All was flawless, precise, and deliberate. What could explain the discrepancy in the numbers? In the lobby, Emma was navigating her first challenge of the day. A family of 4 arrived early, weary from an overnight flight, with their rooms still hours away from being ready. The father's agitation grew, his voice escalating to a level that caught the attention of nearby guests. "I completely understand your situation, Mr. Henderson," Emma said, her voice steady and reassuring. "As we prepare your room, I would be delighted to organize breakfast for your family at our restaurant." The children appeared to be in need of some pancakes. She beamed at the 2 weary children, who brightened at the thought of breakfast. It was, in fact, a violation of the newly established protocols. Complimentary meals were meticulously controlled, yet Emma understood that the expense of 4 breakfasts paled in comparison to the importance of ensuring guest satisfaction. Above all, it was just the right choice for a weary family. The conference room on the top floor buzzed with anticipation as Alexander entered. The board members gathered around, each clutching tablets that showcased the same disheartening figures. He had crafted his achievements through meticulous analysis, focusing on quantifying and enhancing every facet of the hotel experience. The protocols he had put in place were grounded in thorough research and the best practices of the industry. "The numbers are clear," board member Victoria Chen asserted right at the start of the meeting. "It's essential for us to grasp what has shifted." Alexander gazed at his tablet, studying the graphs and charts that had consistently influenced his choices. For the first time in his career, he questioned whether they were revealing the complete narrative. As the evening wore on and the board meeting concluded with urgent calls for decisive measures, Alexander found himself in his office, a concept beginning to take shape. To genuinely grasp the essence of what was unfolding in his hotel, he needed to immerse himself in the experience, not from the perspective of the owner, but as a guest. It would necessitate meticulous preparation, a persuasive narrative, and unwavering confidentiality. Unbeknownst to him as he started to craft his strategy, this choice would unveil something far more precious than mere enhancements in satisfaction ratings. Alexander devoted the following week to carefully shaping his pseudonym. James Bennett would serve as a business consultant focused on the hospitality sector, aligning closely with his true expertise to ensure credibility, while distancing himself enough to evade any doubts. He let his beard grow a bit, traded his tailored suits for ready-to-wear options, and acquired a new set of luggage that wouldn't overtly convey affluence. The board sanctioned his brief leave, presenting it as a trip to explore other properties within the chain. Only Marie, his personal assistant, was privy to the truth, entrusted with the responsibility of managing his correspondence as he pursued his experiment. Marie emphasized the importance of reducing your engagement with the executive staff during their last preparation meeting. Davidson from operations would instantly know who you are. I've scheduled my check-in for the evening shift change, Alexander said, as he adjusted his new, slightly looser tie. The majority of the senior staff will be absent, and I have reserved a room on the 12th floor. Management seldom exceeds the 10th level. In the opulent confines of his penthouse bathroom, Alexander examined the image that stared back at him. The nuanced alterations, reduced product in his hair, the somewhat disheveled beard, rimless glasses replacing his typical contacts, brought about an unexpected metamorphosis. James Bennett presented himself as a polished professional, yet he did not appear to be the owner of the building he occupied. The weight of his impending decision settled in as he carefully folded clothes into a simple suitcase. When was the last occasion he had truly spent the night in a hotel room? Even while on the move, he usually found himself in presidential suites or exclusive homes. The standard rooms in his own hotel remained an enigma to him. Meanwhile, Emma was navigating the latest challenges posed by corporate sufficiency protocols. The revamped check-in procedure, intended to be efficient and contemporary, resulted in a congestion in the lobby. Guests were increasingly annoyed by the extra verification procedures and the limited flexibility of the staff. I don't understand why 3 forms of ID are necessary for a prepaid reservation, an elderly guest remarked, struggling with her documents. I have resided here for 15 years. Emma offered a warm smile as she assisted her in sorting through the papers. I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused, Mrs. Crawford. We are striving to enhance the fluidity of the process. The deception tasted acrid on her tongue. She understood that the process would not see any enhancement unless someone in upper management truly went through it themselves. As dusk settled in, Alexander found himself in his private elevator, savoring the moment for what might be the last time in weeks. He had organized a different car service to take him to the main entrance of the hotel. His heart raced a bit as the elevator made its way down. He hadn't experienced this level of anxious thrill since he launched his first property. The lobby appeared transformed from this perspective. The towering ceilings and elegant marble columns that once inspired a sense of pride now loomed over him, evoking a feeling of intimidation. The queue at reception stretched out further than he had anticipated, and he could feel the impatience of the guests waiting behind him. A young woman with a golden braid and a friendly smile navigated the lobby, addressing concerns and providing help wherever it was required. She moved with a serene assurance, engaging with guests in a manner that was both polished and sincerely compassionate. Alexander observed her skillfully turn a potentially heated complaint into a calm resolution in just a matter of minutes, all through her dedicated focus. Next, the receptionist called, and Alexander stepped forward, assuming the identity of James Bennett for the very first time. As he passed his documents, he caught sight of the blonde woman once more, now assisting an elderly couple with their luggage cart. There was an undeniable quality about her that set her apart from the sleek pretenses he had grown accustomed to in the world of high-end service. She appeared genuine. The idea disturbed him more than he had anticipated. "Welcome to the Grand Metropolitan, Mr. Bennett," the receptionist declared, presenting him with his key card. We trust that your time here will be delightful. With a grin, Alexander adjusted the weight of his bag on his shoulder. I'm certain I will, he responded, aware that his true journey was only starting. Unbeknownst to him, the meticulously crafted scheme he had devised was on the brink of encountering an unforeseen obstacle. Genuine expression at its finest. The chamber did not align with Alexander's expectations. Room 1217 was satisfactory, tidy, nicely furnished, and cozy, yet it fell short of the impressive aura he linked to his brand. The perspective was directed towards an office structure instead of the city's iconic sights, and the bathroom, though serviceable, seemed confined in comparison to his usual experiences. His fingers glided over the surface of the desk, discovering a fine veil of dust nestled in the corner. The room service menu showed signs of wear at the edges, subtle details that would typically escape his meticulous scrutiny. Yet here they lay, unmistakably visible. The initial genuine challenge arose when he attempted to modify the room's temperature. The thermostat seemed to lack any response. After 5 minutes of exasperated efforts, he reached out to guest services. This is James Bennett, year 1217. The thermostat appears to be malfunctioning. I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused, Mr. Bennett. I will dispatch maintenance immediately. Kindly be aware that, in accordance with our existing procedures, maintenance requests are addressed in the sequence they are received. The anticipated wait time is approximately 45 minutes. Alexander sensed a clenching in his jaw. 45 minutes? Is it for a thermostat? Absolutely, sir. Shall I mark this as a priority request? While I must point out that this would necessitate further documentation and approval from— No, that's all right. I shall remain patient. He ended the call, pondering who had sanctioned such a tangled procedure. In order to pass the time, he chose to engage in some work. The desk lamp flickered sporadically, a nuance that would have eluded standard evaluations. The Wi-Fi was superb, although the login process involved 3 distinct verification steps. Appetite emerged around 8. The room service menu presented the same high-quality options he had meticulously assembled, yet the prices, viewed through the eyes of a guest, caused him to hesitate. £28 for a club sandwich? Really? He had rationalized the pricing through market analysis, yet as James Bennett, it seemed overly steep. The meal arrived precisely within the promised 30-minute time frame. Effective, yet somewhat robotic. The server delivered the details of his meal with practiced accuracy, yet appeared hesitant to stray from the script when Alexander inquired about the house dressing. Later that night, restless in the strange bed, he started to go through the guest feedback forms on his tablet. Words leaped forth, capturing his attention. Detached, unyielding, effective yet distant. He had previously brushed aside these grievances, choosing to concentrate on the favorable reviews regarding cleanliness and upscale features. At this moment, they appeared to hold greater significance. A disturbance in the corridor caught his eye. Through the peephole, he observed the blonde woman from earlier, now identifiable by her name tag, Emma, as she assisted a disoriented guest in finding his room. The room numbers can be quite elusive after dark, she remarked, her voice resonating with clarity. Here's a clever little tip. The even numbers all look towards the office building, while the odd numbers gaze upon the Thames. Take a look at this plant. It's conveniently located just opposite your room, serving as a helpful reference point. Her guidance resonated with a unique warmth that captivated him. Though it fell outside the boundaries of his established protocols, it was precisely what the moment demanded. Eventually, sleep arrived, but it was far from peaceful. Alexander wandered through a maze of infinite hallways lined with countless doors, seeking a path back to the penthouse. Yet, he found himself trapped in a series of indistinguishable rooms, where flickering lamps cast eerie shadows and dust settled in the corners. The morning unfolded with the soft hum of traffic 17 floors beneath, accompanied by the stark awareness that his once comfortable routine had been utterly upended. Without a personal barista, a printed newspaper, or sunrise yoga in his exclusive gym. Instead, he found himself going through the same morning routine as every other guest. The bathroom mirror reflected James Bennett, his appearance a bit disheveled, embodying the essence of a typical business traveler. After so many years, Alexander Reed found himself truly adrift in the familiar confines of his own hotel. Unbeknownst to him, this unease was precisely the experience he required, and his meticulously crafted experiment was on the brink of an unforeseen twist. The morning unfolded in a whirlwind of chaos within the lobby. A technical error resulted in the duplication of several reservations, leading to a scenario where multiple guests found themselves assigned to the same rooms. Emma arrived to encounter a queue of exasperated travelers and beleaguered staff grappling with the circumstances while adhering to the limits of procedure. "I've been on hold with the help desk for 20 minutes, Sarah whispered to Emma, discreetly covering her headset microphone. "Room upgrades can't be authorized without the go-ahead from a supervisor, but unfortunately, all the supervisors are currently tied up in the morning meeting." Alexander observed the scene unfold from a leather armchair in the lobby, appearing to be engrossed in his laptop. The blonde manager, Emma, he reminded himself, navigated the crowd with an impressive calmness, her mere presence appearing to ease the tension around her. His personal space had turned into a source of the issue. A confused family of 4 approached the front desk, adamantly claiming they had a confirmed reservation for 12.17. "I reserved this room months ago," the father declared, his voice escalating. "After a grueling 14-hour flight, my children are utterly worn out." Alexander experienced a flicker of remorse. He could easily resolve this by exposing his identity, yet that would undermine the very essence of his inquiry. Instead, he observed as Emma made her way toward the family. "Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez." Her voice resonated with a perfect blend of warmth and authority. "Your frustration is completely understandable. As we address this technical issue, I want to ensure that you and your children are at ease." She guided them to the lobby lounge, conversing softly with a server, who promptly arrived with steaming hot chocolate for the children and coffee for the parents. Alexander observed that she refrained from using her tablet throughout their conversation, clearly breaching the established protocol that mandated immediate logging of all guest interactions. After 20 minutes, Emma made her way to his seat. "I beg your pardon, Mr. Bennett, for intruding upon your endeavors." Alexander shut his laptop, taken aback by the subtle, anxious flutter in his stomach. Up close, her eyes were strikingly blue, and her polished smile possessed a sincerity he seldom found in high-end service. "We are currently facing some challenges with our booking system," she continued. "There has been an unfortunate mix-up with your room reservation." "I see," he responded, intrigued by how she would navigate this situation and what implications it held for him. "I'm pleased to extend an invitation for you to enjoy an upgrade to one of our junior suites located on the 15th floor. Your belongings will be taken care of, and I've organized a complimentary breakfast for your stay as a gesture of goodwill for any inconvenience caused." The resolution was refined yet entirely beyond the established guidelines. Enhancements to the accommodations necessitated a series of approvals, while complimentary dining options were tightly controlled. She was defying all the guidelines he had established, yet her approach would undoubtedly lead to the greatest satisfaction among the guests. "That's quite generous," he remarked, examining her expression for any hint of uncertainty regarding her unapproved choices. There was none. "However, I trust this won't lead to any issues with management." A brief flash of emotion, a blend of frustration and resignation, passed over her face. At times, it's essential to focus on what truly benefits our guests rather than adhering strictly to every guideline. The remark teetered on the edge of defiance, and had it come from anyone else, it would have annoyed him. Yet, there was an undeniable allure in her unwavering belief. "Thank you, Ms. Hayes." Emma Hayes handed him the new keycard. "Should you require anything further during your stay, Mr. Bennett, please do not hesitate to inform me." As she moved on to tackle the next challenge, Alexander found himself lost in thought, his gaze lingering. Emma Hayes had just violated at least 6 different protocols, yet she had managed to craft the precise experience he had been striving for through rules and regulations. He couldn't help but notice the irony. He arrived to uncover the reasons behind his malfunctioning systems, only to discover someone thriving by deliberately disregarding them. May I have the opportunity to observe your work for a day? The following morning, Alexander approached Emma at the front desk and inquired, I am currently exploring guest service practices for a book, and I found your management of yesterday's situation to be quite remarkable. Emma lingered, her hand hovering above the pile of reports she had been sorting. Protocol required that all research requests be funneled through corporate communications, yet there was something about Mr. Bennett's sincere curiosity that prompted her to contemplate bending yet another guideline. It's not precisely an ordinary day, she cautioned. We are currently navigating the consequences of the booking system. Even better, he responded with a smile that was both captivating and strangely reminiscent. Genuine challenges uncover authentic answers. Thus commenced the most peculiar day for Alexander within the confines of his own hotel. Observing Emma as she navigated her morning routine unveiled a realm he had never genuinely experienced, even though he was the owner of the building. She recognized each member of the housekeeping team, inquired about their families, and skillfully leveraged these personal relationships to enhance room turnover rates more effectively than any efficiency protocol he had put in place. After arranging to swap cleaning assignments, Emma explained that Maria's son has a football match today. She'll hustle through the West Wing to ensure she can clock out on time, and Anna has a preference for afternoon shifts regardless. True insights emerged through conversations with guests. Emma appeared to possess an uncanny ability to foresee potential issues, tackling them before they could grow out of control. A guest's subtle furrow of the brow in the lobby sparked a hushed dialogue that uncovered uncertainty regarding the billing process. A simple coloring book tucked away behind the desk proved to be the perfect solution for a child's restlessness during check-in. Not a conventional feature, yet evidently a well-honed approach. You're quite skilled at this, Alexander noted as they ascended in the service elevator to address a maintenance concern. Where did you acquire these techniques? Emma chuckled gently. No technique, just engaging with individuals as human beings rather than mere data points. She cast a glance at him, though I suppose that approach doesn't lend itself to very scientific research. The maintenance issue revealed yet another thermostat problem, reminiscent of his previous experience. However, rather than adhering to the usual protocol, Emma opted to reach out directly to engineering. Greetings, Tom. Indeed, another one on the 14th, identical to the model from last week. I understand you're busy, but Mr. Chun is dealing with a medical issue. Thank you, you truly are a hero. Is that the standard procedure? Alexander inquired, fully aware that it was not the case. The standard procedure typically required 2 hours. Tom will have it sorted out in just 10 minutes. She locked eyes with him unwaveringly. At times, true efficiency transcends mere adherence to protocols. It lies in understanding your team and having faith in their decisions. Throughout the day, Alexander diligently filled his notebook with observations, albeit of a nature he had not anticipated. Rather than pinpointing procedural shortcomings, he discovered he was chronicling instances of human connection that no set of guidelines could ever reproduce. By evening, he had observed Emma tackle 23 guest issues, liaise with every department in the hotel, and exude a warmth that rendered his own management approach starkly mechanical by comparison. As the day drew to a close, he expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you for allowing me to shadow you. I've gained more knowledge than I anticipated." Emma replied with a playful glint in her eye, "Hopefully nothing too shocking for your story. I have a strong feeling that I violated at least a dozen corporate protocols today." Alexander reflected on all his meticulously constructed rules and regulations, perceiving them now from a fresh perspective. At times, he reflected, the most effective approaches aren't necessarily those outlined in guides. As he strolled back to his suite, Alexander acknowledged that he had filled 40 pages in his notebook, yet the most significant lessons eluded quantification or mapping. Their essence was captured in the authentic smiles of both guests and staff, a quality that no efficiency metrics could ever quantify. The restaurant within the hotel underwent a remarkable change after 10 p.m. As the final dinner guests left, and the overhead lights softened to create an intimate evening ambience. Alexander perched on a bar stool, appearing to sift through his notes from the day, yet his thoughts drifted to particular instances, subtle gestures and exchanges he'd observed that challenged his grasp of what luxury hospitality truly entailed. "Mr. Bennett," Emma's voice broke through his reverie, and he turned to see her at the restaurant entrance, still clad in her uniform but with her hair cascading freely from its usual braid. "I was surprised to find someone still present." He confessed that sleep eluded him. "There are an overwhelming number of observations to analyze. Would you like to accompany me?" After a moment of uncertainty, she gracefully settled onto the nearby bar stool. She admitted that she occasionally visits this place to unwind. There's a serene calm that envelopes the space once the day winds down. With a knowing smile, the bartender, James, whom Alexander recalled from his staff files despite never having met him, approached. "The usual, Emma. Just a cup of tea for me tonight, please. And what about you, sir?" Alexander cast a quick look at Emma's tea order. "Likewise, thank you." In a cozy stillness, they lingered while James busied himself with their drinks. The air around them crackled with unspoken inquiries. "What was your true motivation for wanting to follow me around today?" Emma finally inquired, cradling the warm cup in her hands. Alexander pondered his response thoughtfully. After years immersed in the intricacies of hotel management systems, efficiency protocols, and guest satisfaction metrics, today I encountered something unique, something that eludes the confines of spreadsheets. "Human connection isn't something that can be confined to spreadsheets," Emma replied, a spark of passion evident in her voice. "That's what those in charge fail to grasp. They persist in attempting to standardize every interaction, yet genuine hospitality cannot be distilled into a mere formula." The critique was meant to pierce, yet Alexander discovered he was in agreement. "Today I observed you violate at least 15 protocols." 17, she interjected with a subtle smile. 17 protocols, he amended, a smile creeping onto his face, and still, every single result surpassed what the protocol could have delivered. Emma pivoted to confront him directly. "May I speak candidly, Mr. Bennett?" "Kindly. These hotels, not only this one, but all of them, are losing their essence. All aspects are quantified, refined, and systematized. The essence of true hospitality is fading as we chase after flawless efficiency metrics." Alexander experienced a tangled web of guilt intertwined with fascination. "Do you believe there's a more effective approach?" "I'm aware that it exists. Every day, I witness it in the little things. When housekeeping recalls a guest's pillow preference without needing to consult the system, when the kitchen prepares a special meal for a traveler longing for home, and when we acknowledge people as unique individuals rather than mere room numbers." Her voice held a mesmerizing intensity. Alexander leaned in, captivated by her vision of what his hotel could become, what it was meant to be. "The irony," she went on, "is that all these protocols were likely established with noble intentions. It seems that those in charge believed they were making progress, yet they have never faced a guest and had to justify why assisting them demands 3 layers of consent." Every word served as a quiet accusation of his leadership approach, and Alexander sensed the weight of its truth pressing down on him. The gap between his executive suite and the hotel's everyday existence suddenly appeared immense. "How would you approach things in a different way?" he inquired gently. "What would you alter?" Emma's eyes sparkled with potential, and for the next hour she crafted a vision of hospitality that was not only more personal but, intriguingly, more effective than his strict systems. Alexander discovered he was making mental notes, not in the manner of a CEO analyzing an issue, but rather as a student absorbing wisdom from a true expert in her field. As the final goodnights echoed through the halls, the hotel embraced its serene late-night stillness, yet Alexander's thoughts churned restlessly. He had set out to identify issues within his systems, yet he found himself grappling with the core principles of his business operations. More unsettling was his growing attraction to the individual who had ignited these reflections. The following morning, Alexander unveiled the essence of the hotel in the quiet hours before dawn. Adhering to Emma's timetable required showing up at 6:15 a.m., as the night shift was concluding and the morning team was just starting their day. The basement staff areas presented a striking juxtaposition to the opulence above, practical yet showing signs of age with their old furniture and flickering fluorescent lights. As the morning briefing commenced, Emma guided him into a break room where the staff congregated around a well-worn table. This is the hub where the genuine efforts are orchestrated. In a quiet corner, Alexander watched intently as housekeepers, maintenance workers, and food service staff exchanged updates and voiced their concerns. The atmosphere was unlike anything he'd encountered in his boardroom discussions. The hotel's daily rhythms were understood on a level that no management report could ever convey. Maria, a seasoned housekeeper, announced that Mrs. Chun in 8.15 is celebrating her anniversary. I've preserved a few additional roses from the floral arrangements of yesterday's event. Tom from maintenance mentioned that the Thompson family's little girl had lost her stuffed elephant. I will inspect the service elevators as I conduct my rounds. Every detail was intimate, particular, significant, and entirely missing from any formal reporting structure. As they strolled through the service corridors, Emma later elaborated on the true mechanics behind the hotel's operation. The nuances transform a pleasant experience into an extraordinary one. They halted momentarily as a kitchen staff member hurried by, pushing a cart laden with breakfast provisions. Use the service elevator on the east side, Emma called after him. The western one has been operating at a sluggish pace. What leads you to that conclusion? Alexander inquired. I have yet to come across any maintenance reports regarding elevator problems. Emma cast him a knowing glance, a silent acknowledgement of my conversation with the staff. They are intimately familiar with the rhythm and pulse of this building. As the morning unfolded, Alexander observed the unseen mechanisms of his hotel in action. The laundry team possessed an exceptional skill for eliminating specific stains while preserving the integrity of delicate fabrics. The dishwashers capable of anticipating peak times by analyzing weather trends. The maintenance team devised a unique signing system to facilitate communication in the noisy mechanical rooms. Corporate keeps sending us new protocols. Carmen, a seasoned room service coordinator, remarked during their lunch break, but they just don't get it. We are already well-versed in our roles. We simply require the liberty to execute them properly. Alexander sensed a mounting discomfort. How many invaluable systems and insights had his standardization efforts unintentionally obliterated? The afternoon unfolded with a succession of minor challenges that showcased the team's remarkable ability to adjust and respond. A guest's allergy necessitated a thorough deep cleaning of the entire room to eliminate any remnants of feathers. A business traveler found themselves in urgent need of a freshly pressed shirt for an unforeseen meeting. The connecting rooms for the family were not positioned next to each other as initially assured. Every challenge was addressed through a complex interplay of collaboration and deep-rooted understanding that entirely circumvented formal procedures. Emma appeared to guide everything with delicate movements and soft-spoken phrases, reminiscent of a maestro directing a skilled ensemble. How do you manage to stay on top of everything? As they observed the housekeeping team skillfully rearranging the rooms to address the connecting room dilemma, Alexander inquired. I don't, Emma replied. That is precisely the point. I have confidence in their expertise, in their ability to support one another, and in their commitment to doing what is best for the guests. This has been their practice for years. They possess insights that no guide could ever fully convey. As the day drew to a close, Alexander had inscribed numerous additional pages in his notebook, yet the most significant insights transcended mere systems or procedures. The focus was on the human infrastructure that genuinely upheld his hotel, the intricate network of relationships and knowledge functioning subtly beneath the surface of his corporate protocols. As he observed Emma saying farewell to each team member individually, inquiring about their families and exchanging lighthearted jokes, he recognized that she was doing more than merely overseeing staff. She was fostering a community, and in doing so, that community was accomplishing everything his efficiency protocols had sought, yet with a warmth and humanity that his systems had never been able to emulate. I have some ideas I'd like to share with you, Emma said during their usual evening tea in the serene restaurant. After a week of observing her, Alexander found himself looking forward to these end-of-day conversations with a mix of curiosity and unease. He recalled her subtle adjustments to various procedures over the week, always enhancing outcomes while cleverly bending the rules. Emma retrieved a tattered notebook, defying the corporate mandate for a polished tablet, and flipped it open to display pages filled with her handwritten notes and sketches. I have been meticulously recording all the areas that could improve, given the opportunity to make adjustments. Alexander inched closer, their shoulders almost brushing as she fanned the pages out before them. Her penmanship was meticulous, her concepts systematically arranged. This was more than a mere assortment of grievances. It represented a thorough blueprint for change. Look here, she gestured towards a flowchart. The existing check-in procedure involves 3 distinct verification steps. However, by empowering our front desk staff to exercise discretion based on individual circumstances, we could simplify the process for returning guests while still ensuring security for newcomers. Every proposal was carefully crafted, supported by concrete examples and anticipated results. Alexander contributed his insights, leveraging his professional background, all the while skillfully concealing his real identity. "These are outstanding," he remarked at last. "Have you communicated those to management?" Emma's face darkened. "I've made several attempts, yet everything seems to vanish in the maze of red tape. The most recent proposals I submitted were deemed to be in conflict with the established efficiency protocols." The subtlety of bitterness in her voice was clear and undeniable. Alexander experienced a sudden jolt of familiarity. He was likely the one who dismissed her ideas, or at the very least sanctioned their dismissal. The idea stirred a disquiet within him that he hadn't anticipated. "The exasperating aspect," Emma said while idly running her finger along the edge of her teacup, "is that I am certain these changes would be effective. Every day presents a chance to enhance experiences, benefiting both guests and staff alike. It feels as though there's an unseen barrier separating those of us engaged in the hands-on tasks from those who hold the power to make the choices." Her words struck him with the force of a tangible impact. He constructed that wall layer by layer, with a steadfast belief that he was establishing essential order and stability. "What if," he proposed cautiously, "you had the chance to communicate directly with the owner? What would you say to him?" Emma chuckled gently, yet the sound held no trace of amusement. "Mr. Reed likely isn't even aware of who I am. I've heard that he focuses heavily on data and metrics. I question whether he would care about the personal aspects of managing his hotel." The evaluation of his character, while difficult, was just. A week ago, he would have brushed aside her ideas as unrealistic, overly concentrated on abstract elements that defied quantification. Now, witnessing her techniques unfold, he realized the extent of his previous misconceptions. "Perhaps he might astonish you," Alexander proposed, resisting the temptation to justify himself, or more accurately, his alternate persona. "Perhaps," Emma conceded, yet her tone implied skepticism. She started collecting her notes, tucking them away into her bag. "Regardless, it holds no significance. We will continue to strive for excellence despite the limitations we face. That is the extent of our capabilities." As she prepared to depart, Alexander felt an overwhelming urge to share his entire truth with her, to reveal his identity, to express how profoundly her insights had shifted his viewpoint, and to convey his eagerness to put each of her suggestions into action the very next day. Yet the words remained lodged in his throat, restrained by the dread that the bond they had forged over the past week would fracture the instant she uncovered the reality. Instead, he observed her retreat, her notebook brimming with brilliant ideas cradled under her arm, and sensed the burden of his deceit intensifying with every step she took. Mrs. Whitman made her entrance precisely at 3 p.m. each Thursday, as she had done for the last 12 years. A woman in her 70s, she reserved the same room, 1042, for one night each week, a personal ritual of autonomy following her husband's death. As they observed the elderly woman checking in, Emma shared with Alexander that she and her husband used to celebrate their anniversary here. "She visits weekly to nurture the bond." Alexander observed the staff's treatment of Mrs. Whitman, marked by a sincere warmth rather than the usual superficial politeness reserved for important guests. The bellman, Carlos, was already prepared with her favorite cart at the ready. The front desk was prepared with her preferred pen, just waiting for her to sign the forms. Minor specifics, all of which remain unrecorded in any official guidelines. With a genuine smile, Emma approached Mrs. Whitman. I set aside the morning's crossword puzzle just for you. The elderly woman's expression brightened. Dear Emma, you always recall, she turned to Alexander. This young woman brings a sense of warmth and significance to an elderly lady's life. Emma explained that Mr. Bennett is delving into the intricacies of hotel management. Could you please share your thoughts as one of our esteemed guests? In the cozy ambience of the lobby lounge, where the tea was prepared to her exact liking, the pot snugly enveloped in a warming cloth, Mrs. Whitman recounted her experiences with the hotel. 3 decades ago, she and her late husband had their first stay there, during a time when it was under independent ownership. It was a different time, she reflected, perhaps more intimate. Yet Emma here rekindles that familiar sense of connection. Alexander absorbed every word as Mrs. Whitman recounted the hotel's transformation. Every renovation, every change in ownership, every new policy, had gradually eroded the personal charm she had initially adored. Yet you find your way back, he noted. The memories linger, she responded with a quiet certainty, and a few of the staff, they grasp the essence. Creates a sense of belonging. Subsequently, Emma presented Alexander with Mrs. Whitman's guest profile from the system. The official notes lacked detail. As a long-term guest, I would like to request my preferred room, 1042, for my weekly stay on Thursdays. But consider what remains unnoted, Emma remarked, how she prefers her tea prepared, the crossword puzzle she tackles each Friday morning, the detail that she consistently calls her daughter at 9 p.m., ensuring the phone lines are perfectly clear during that hour. Alexander contemplated his systems for managing customer relationships, his intricate data analyses, and his surveys on satisfaction. None of them managed to convey the vital human qualities that drew guests like Mrs. Whitman back time and again. As dusk settled, he observed from the lobby while Mrs. Whitman got ready to depart. Each colleague she encountered extended a heartfelt farewell. The doorman had already contacted her usual car service. Emma arrived, cradling a small package in her hands. She mentioned that your favorite scones would be ready for breakfast tomorrow. The chef prepared them with great care. As Mrs. Whitman's car disappeared from view, Alexander shifted his gaze to Emma. That was not included in any established guidelines. Indeed, she concurred. Yet, it's what transforms a hotel into something beyond merely a structure filled with rooms. Guests aren't drawn back by the thread count or the bathroom luxuries. They return because they sense a bond, are comprehended, and feel appreciated. Alexander contemplated his unique strategy for fostering customer loyalty. Point systems, tier levels, standardized perks, crafted to foster the semblance of individualized care while demanding no genuine commitment. How do you keep tabs on all these individual preferences? He inquired, already aware that the official system lacked support for such specifics. Emma lightly tapped her temple, a smile dancing on her lips. We hold on to those memories, as that's the essence of what it means to be family. The notion of family echoed in Alexander's thoughts long after Emma returned to her responsibilities. His hotel boasted every luxury amenity imaginable, yet in his relentless quest for flawless efficiency, he had overlooked the most fundamental human necessity, the desire to belong. Amidst the hustle of a Tuesday morning, the unfolding crisis that would challenge all began with a single phone call. As Alexander watched the front desk operations unfold, Jeremy, a relatively new member of the team, answered the phone. Sir, I see your point, but unfortunately that would necessitate the approval of a manager. Jeremy's expression darkened with mounting concern as he absorbed the words. Indeed, I recognize your status as a Diamond Elite member, yet the protocol clearly indicates that Emma appeared as if called forth, gracefully accepting the phone. Greetings, I am Emma Hayes, the manager of guest relations. How can I help you today? Alexander observed the shift in her demeanor as she absorbed the words. After a brief pause, she started jotting down notes, her pen moving swiftly yet with purpose. Mr. Davidson, I fully grasp the circumstances you are facing. Absolutely, we will take care of this right away. She ended the call and faced her team. An urgent situation has arisen. The individual in focus was a high-ranking official from a prominent tech firm. With a pivotal business meeting looming just 2 hours away, He realized he had inadvertently left his presentation materials and suit back in Hong Kong. This meeting could determine the course of his entire career. As they rushed through the lobby, Emma clarified to Alexander that the usual course of action would involve directing him to their business center and nearby shopping alternatives. However, that falls short of expectations. Not for this purpose. What Alexander observed in the following hour was a remarkable display of efficiency that defied conventional protocols. Emma skillfully coordinated a multifaceted endeavor that required various departments to extend beyond their typical limits. She persuaded the head of housekeeping to provide their finest suit from the lost and found, a fortunate fit in size. The tailor at the hotel, typically on duty only in the afternoons, was summoned for urgent alterations. A secure direct line to Hong Kong was established by the IT department for the purpose of retrieving the presentation files. Alexander observed that there were at least a dozen violations, feeling a mix of admiration and unease regarding the rules being flouted in his own establishment. At times, making the right choice involves defying the incorrect regulations, Emma responded, working with the business center to format and print the gathered presentations. The moment intensified with the arrival of Mr. Davidson, a tall, formidable figure bearing the frazzled expression of someone on the brink of a career crisis. He was swiftly ushered into a secluded room that Emma had meticulously arranged. The altered suit hung patiently on a suitable hanger. The presentations were meticulously printed, expertly collated, and elegantly placed in premium folders adorned with the hotel's embossing. Emma had even coordinated for the hotel's barber to be on standby for a swift touch-up. "Ms. Hayes," Davidson remarked after observing the arrangements, "I'm at a loss for words to express my gratitude." "No need for thanks, sir. We are here to assist." Emma's smile was polished, yet Alexander could discern the authentic pleasure in her eyes at a crisis expertly handled. After Davidson left for his meeting, exuding confidence and looking impeccable, Alexander discovered Emma in her small office, diligently completing incident reports. "You do understand that you've breached approximately 20 different protocols today," he remarked, casually leaning against the doorframe. "I actually counted, and the total is 23. She lifted her gaze from the documents before her. "Are you planning to include that in your manuscript, Sir Bennett? An examination of the pitfalls of disregarding corporate regulations? I plan to explore the idea that often, what is morally right and what is necessary can diverge significantly." He settled into the chair opposite her. "What factors influence your choice to bend the rules?" Emma paused, her pen resting on the page as she pondered the question. "I pondered what holds greater significance, adhering to protocols or assisting others. The response is often quite evident. However, those procedures are in place for a purpose," Alexander contended, taking a contrary stance against his own policies. "Is that so? Or do they come into being because a decision was made in an office that prioritizes consistency over the essence of humanity?" Her gaze locked onto his with an intensity that took him by surprise. "Regulations ought to benefit individuals, Mr. Bennett, rather than the reverse." Alexander sensed the gravity of her words embed themselves in his mind. Each protocol she had violated today had received his personal endorsement. Every obstacle she had navigated was put in place by him, justified as essential for upholding certain standards. However, the result, a thankful guest, a crisis successfully navigated, an improved reputation, strongly contradicted his entire approach to management. He confessed softly that his perspective on these matters was shifting. "Good," Emma responded with a faint smile. "It would be wise for someone to take action." Victoria Chen's sudden appearance in the hotel lobby stirred a wave of unease among the staff. As a board member recognized for her high expectations, her surprise visits usually signaled issues ahead. From across the lobby, Alexander caught sight of her, and a wave of unease washed over him. This was not a scenario he had anticipated among all the complexities he had meticulously planned for. "Is everything okay?" Emma inquired, observing his abrupt unease. He succeeded, attempting to shift himself out of Victoria's view. "A call has just come to mind that I need to attend to." Yet destiny had different intentions. As he tried to make his way back to the elevators, Victoria's voice pierced through the din of the lobby. "Is that you, Alex? Is it Alexander Reed?" Emma glanced at him, her expression a mix of bewilderment and uncertainty. Alexander remained motionless, observing as his meticulously crafted illusion began to disintegrate with Victoria's approach. "I assumed you were exploring the European properties," Victoria remarked, her gaze drifting to his relaxed outfit and changed look. Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of understanding dawning upon her. She had not ascended to the board without possessing the skill to discern the nuances beneath the surface. I understand." "Victoria," Alexander recognized, fully conscious of Emma's presence next to him. "This may not be as it appears, as it seems our CEO is engaging in an undercover investigation without the board's knowledge." Victoria's tone was incisive, yet measured. "And who could this possibly be?" Emma advanced, her demeanor steady and poised, even in the face of clear bewilderment. "Emma Hayes, manager of guest relations. I have been helping Mr. Bennett, or should I say Mr. Reed, with his research endeavors." The subtle quiver in her voice as she uttered his true name caused Alexander to flinch. "I see," Victoria remarked once more, her gaze carrying a weight of understanding that left Alexander feeling uneasy. "Well, please continue with your investigation. This will be a topic of discussion at our upcoming board meeting." With a polished smile, she made her way to the executive offices. The stillness that enveloped the room after she left was overwhelming. Emma remained motionless, her expression a facade of calm detachment that stung more deeply than any overt rage could have. "Emma, let me clarify," Alexander began. "I have no doubt you can, Mr. Reed." Her voice was masterfully composed. "If you wouldn't mind, I have some important tasks to attend to." She pivoted and strode away, each step deliberate and exact. Alexander observed her departure, the burden of his dishonesty pressing down on the delicate bond they had formed. He had anticipated this moment would arrive sooner or later, yet he was unprepared for the depth of the pain it would bring. The remainder of the day unfolded in a haze of averted gazes and measured detachment. Emma carried out her responsibilities with remarkable precision, yet the familiar warmth he had grown to cherish was strikingly missing. Whenever he attempted to get closer to her, she seemed perpetually on the verge of departing for yet another task, another crisis, another obligation that pulled her away from his reach. As dusk settled in, the lobby fell into a serene hush, and Alexander discovered himself solitary in their familiar corner of the restaurant. The tea he had ordered sat untouched, growing cold as he gazed at his notebook, brimming with a week's worth of thoughts that now felt empty. Emma's voice caught him off guard as she revealed that his office was 17 floors up. She lingered at the bar's edge, keeping a measured distance. "Shouldn't you be present to make those crucial decisions that come with the CEO title?" "Emma, allow me to clarify." "Could you clarify what you mean? In what ways did you assume a different identity? How do you allow me to critique your policies directly? Did you observe me bending your rules repeatedly, all the while jotting down notes?" Every question struck with the force of a tangible impact. He spoke softly, expressing his need for understanding. "I had to experience the hotel in its true form, rather than through the lens of my reports." "Did you manage to obtain what you were looking for? Is there sufficient content for another series of guidelines? Additional strategies for enhancing efficiency?" The sharpness in her tone was undeniable. Alexander rose, moving closer to her. "What I received was a profound learning experience. You revealed all the missteps I've taken, every guideline I've established that hinders genuine hospitality, every obstacle I've erected that stops our team from performing at their highest level." Emma's polished facade faltered just a bit, exposing a trace of the pain hidden underneath. "Why didn't you simply reveal your identity to me? Would you have expressed such honesty to the CEO? Would you have revealed the authentic hotel to me, rather than the refined version we showcased to executives?" She paused, lost in thought. "No," she ultimately confessed. "I would not have. That is the reason. I had to uncover the reality. I sought to comprehend the reasons behind the malfunction of my systems. And most importantly," he added gently, "I needed to encounter the true Emma Hayes, not the facade she shows to management." Across the softly illuminated room, their gazes intertwined, the weight of his words suspended in the air between them. The distance was palpable and symbolic, a chasm between their realities that his deceit had both connected and expanded. He finally mentioned that there is a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. I would appreciate your presence to assist me in articulating the reasons behind the necessity for change. Emma's reply was cut short by the entrance of a visitor seeking help. She averted her gaze, her composed demeanor reestablished, departing and leaving Alexander with his lukewarm tea and the lingering worry that he might have harmed something invaluable in his quest for clarity. The atmosphere in the boardroom contrasted sharply with that of the management side of the table. Alexander positioned himself at the forefront, observing the board members as they entered the room. Victoria Chen's perceptive gaze left him acutely conscious of his disheveled look. He opted to forego his typical refined appearance. This meeting required genuine expression, not pretense. Emma arrived precisely on schedule, her polished demeanor firmly established. She had brought her well-loved notebook, its pages now adorned with vibrant tabs. Alexander observed her hands quiver ever so slightly as she settled into her seat. Yet her face held a steady calmness. Before we begin, Victoria initiated, perhaps Mr. Reed would care to clarify why he has been posing as a guest in his own establishment. Alexander rose, his gaze sweeping over the expressions gathered at the table. What started as a probe into falling satisfaction scores evolved into something far more significant. We've been managing our hotels poorly, every single one of them. He approached the presentation screen, but rather than displaying his typical charts and graphs, he unveiled Emma's notebook. Over the last week, I've taken note of the elements that truly contribute to the success of this hotel. It's not about our procedures, our frameworks, or our performance indicators. It's our team, particularly leaders like Emma Hayes, who understand when to bend the rules to deliver authentic hospitality. Emma sat up in her chair, feeling the weight of everyone's gaze upon her. Alexander continued, we've established a framework so inflexible that our top performers must navigate around it to provide the service our guests truly deserve. Today, we will transform that. For the next hour, Alexander and Emma shared their insights. She provided detailed instances, such as Mrs. Whitman's regular visits, the Davidson crisis, and the booking system debacle, as he interpreted them in terms of business consequences. The expressions of the board members transformed from doubt to curiosity to authentic involvement. This is all quite moving, Victoria interjected, but we cannot just disregard standards and protocols. Our brand demands uniformity. We're not abandoning standards, Emma asserted, her voice growing stronger. We are raising them to new heights. Genuine luxury transcends uniformity. It revolves around ensuring that every guest feels distinctly appreciated. Alexander observed her with a subtle yet profound appreciation as she articulated her vision for a more compassionate approach to hospitality. The board members leaned in, captivated by her fervent yet pragmatic presentation. The data backs this up, Alexander remarked, displaying a screen filled with information. Whenever Ms. Hayes and her team deviated from the established protocol to address a guest concern, our satisfaction scores soared. They understood the nuances of each situation far more than our systems could. The meeting exceeded its allotted time. The conversation became more lively as board members started to share their own suggestions for reform. When Alexander called for a vote on Emma's proposed changes, the result was almost unanimous. As the board members departed, Victoria remained behind. Well played, Alex, though I have a feeling your interest in our guest relations manager goes beyond mere professionalism. She smiled with a hint of understanding before joining the others outside. At last, in solitude, Alexander faced Emma. I appreciate all that you've done. I'm still furious about the betrayal, she said, collecting her things, but I see the reasoning behind your actions. She lingered at the threshold. What comes next? Alexander gazed at her, recognizing the skilled expert and the compassionate individual he had grown to respect throughout the week. It all hinges on that, he murmured gently. Are you open to collaborating on transforming this hotel into its true potential? Their exchange held the weight of more than merely the hotel's destiny, a truth they both recognized. I require some time to reflect, Emma stated the following morning. She found herself in Alexander's office, the genuine one, gazing out over London through the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows. This is unfolding at a rapid pace. The board granted her promotion to Director of Guest Experience, a newly established role that empowers her to execute her vision throughout all hotel properties. The proposal included a significant boost in salary and immediate access to upper management. It was, without a doubt, an extraordinary chance. I see, Alexander responded, keeping a formal demeanor even though he longed to bridge the space that separated them. It's a significant transformation. It's more than merely the work. Emma pivoted to meet his gaze. You remain in charge. Complications arise. The silent pull between them lingered in the atmosphere. Their evening conversations, shared insights, and deepening connection transcended the boundaries of a typical employer-employee dynamic. That's been on my mind as well, Alexander remarked. He retrieved a folder and offered it to her. This is the reason I summoned you here specifically. Emma opened the folder and started to read, her eyes growing wide with surprise. You are resigning from your position as CEO. As he transitioned to the role of chairman of the board, he made the necessary corrections. Victoria Chen is set to assume the role of CEO. She possesses greater qualifications, after all. I was simply too dominant to recognize it earlier. However, this is your hotel, a testament to your father's legacy, and I nearly jeopardized it by attempting to oversee every single detail. He positioned himself next to her at the window. The most beneficial action I can take for this hotel is to step aside and allow talented individuals like you to restore its greatness. Emma examined his expression, searching for any hint of uncertainty. Do you really believe this is the right choice? I have a strong sense of certainty about many aspects now. His voice took on a gentler tone, incorporating my emotions regarding you. Emma stepped back, her demeanor remaining poised and professional.
Alexander, I'm aware.
It's intricate. That's why I'm keeping it simple, he indicated the documents. As chairman, I will not engage in the daily operations. I will not hold the position of your direct superior. Your point of contact will be Victoria. What about all that transpired last week? The illusion. I cannot alter the circumstances of our meeting, Alexander recognized. Yet I can be truthful about my current self and my desires. Emma gazed at the folder she held, then shifted her attention to the man who had evolved from a mere undercover guest to a figure of greater importance in her life. I need time, she reiterated, though her tone had softened. Feel free to take as much time as you require. Alexander retreated to his desk, honoring her need for distance. The proposal remains, for each of them. As Emma exited his office, she lingered at the threshold. Join me for dinner tonight, she suggested. But not at the hotel. Let's meet somewhere neutral, just as ourselves. Alexander's heart raced, yet he maintained a calm tone. Identify the location. That charming Italian eatery just a short stroll away. The one that thrives without rigid protocols or efficiency metrics, simply serving delicious food and fostering genuine connections. 8 o'clock? Emma nodded, a subtle smile dancing on her lips. Please ensure you arrive on time. What about Alexander? Choose something casual. Leave the power suits behind. Once she departed, Alexander lingered by his window, gazing at the bustling city beneath him. After years of monotony, a spark of genuine excitement ignited within him, not driven by business ambitions or growth strategies, but by the allure of something real and unplanned. He had slipped into his own hotel incognito, seeking insights into efficiency and guest satisfaction. Instead, he discovered something far more precious, the essence of what truly counts in both business and life. 3 months later, Alexander found himself in the lobby of the Grand Metropolitan, taking in the nuanced yet impactful changes that had reshaped his hotel. The strict check-in protocols had vanished, giving way to a more intuitive system crafted by Emma. Team members advanced with a fresh sense of assurance, emboldened to take actions that enhanced the experience for their visitors. Mrs. Whitman occupied her familiar place in the lobby lounge, yet this time she had company. Other familiar faces had gathered for what had evolved into a casual afternoon tea gathering, exchanging tales and fostering a sense of community that no corporate effort could replicate. "The latest satisfaction scores are in," Victoria announced, joining him with a tablet in hand. "The highest they've been in 5 years. "I don't need to see them," Alexander replied, observing Emma as she navigated the floor with an effortless grace, her new role seeming to suit her as if it had been tailor-made for her from the very beginning. In numerous respects, it certainly had been. In the last 3 months, he encountered transformations he had never foreseen. His move to chairman had liberated him from the details of everyday tasks, enabling him to concentrate on larger ideas and more personal concerns. Emma's impact resonated across the hotel chain, her belief in genuine hospitality transforming their entire service philosophy. Their relationship had transformed as well, initially with careful steps, then with increasing confidence. Their initial dinner at the Italian restaurant evolved into a series of weekly outings, each meticulously arranged to uphold professional boundaries while delving into their personal rapport. They had discovered a harmony, much like the hotel had achieved its own equilibrium between practicality and warmth. A young staff member, Mr. Reed, approached with a hint of nervousness. "Ms. Hayes requested that I remind you of the staff meeting scheduled for this afternoon. She believes it's the right moment for you to reveal your story to the new team members." Alexander beamed. Under Emma's leadership, the monthly staff meetings evolved into a cherished tradition, a moment for exchanging experiences and honoring achievements. Today, he would finally share his experiences from the week as James Bennett, revealing how he learned to perceive his own hotel from a fresh perspective. He responded, assuring her that he wouldn't miss it for the world. As the staff member rushed off, Alexander's gaze met Emma's from across the lobby. She offered him a delicate smile before turning her attention back to the guest she was speaking with. They had both delved into an unforeseen narrative, one that commenced with falsehoods yet unfolded into revelation, a voyage that began with rules but culminated in insight. The hotel buzzed with energy around him, transformed from a mere mechanism into a vibrant community. Ultimately, he didn't merely find the love of his life. He unearthed the very essence of hospitality, and that made every broken rule along the journey worthwhile.